Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's time for another episode of Come On Ref. I've got, I don't know, most of my friends here with me. I mean, some people aren't here, but whatever, it's fine. We got Jared, we got Max, we got Jameson, Jackson, Nick's with us, man. You know me, I'm Chad. Hey, good morning, guys. What are you doing? What's going on?
Morning.
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 I'm tired.
You're tired? You look tired. Everybody have a good weekend or what, man?
Yeah. Great. Great. That's some
You guys
great.
all look excited. I see Jared's got his pumpkin spice Hawaiian shirt on, so you guys are excited for fall, for spooky season, right? It's finally spooky season. We got I used Jason last week. We got Freddy Krueger down at the bottom. I don't know. I got some fall graphics going on, but I love Halloween, man. I love October. I love this time of year. I don't like the end of summer, so I guess I'm really trying to overdo the fact that I like Halloween just to kind of like deal with the fact that summer's over.
Right.
Baseball's winding down. That's something we're going to talk about today on the show. Baseball. I mean, the playoffs are here. It's playoff baseball season. This is the best time for me. Again, I don't love the end of the summer, but man, for me, nothing matches October baseball, right? Like it's just every pitch is so intense. Even with the pitch clock, I hope we still have that intensity. I don't see why not. It should still be intense. It's going to be a good time. We got to talk about the Browns, man. The Browns just absolutely fell flat this weekend. I mean, DTR or no DTR, even the defense didn't look very good. I mean, I guess Lamar can do that to you when he's on. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. First, I just want to hit some quick headlines, man. The WNBA Finals. That starts Sunday afternoon, I think, is game one. New York Liberty, Las Vegas Aces. I'll be really honest with you. I don't know who the favorite is. I am not I haven't watched much WNBA this year. I've watched it in the past. I have two kids. I barely can watch, all the main sports that are going on right now, like baseball, playoff baseball, college football. I can't get to the peripheral stuff. I know like hockey's about to come back up and basketball is starting and it's just too much, man.
In the regular season, New York took 3 out of 5 from the Aces, and the Aces are the returning champs. So
Okay.
it should be interesting to see how that plays up. 2 powerhouse teams, and very exciting for WNBA fans.
You think it's a series that goes the distance or no, Jared?
Yeah, I definitely think it goes to 7 because you had Brianna Stewart leading the way for New York, along with Courtney Vandersloot. And then for the Aces, you have Kelsey Plum and Candace Parker. Those are really those key players on both sides of the teams that are really going to stand out and really help their team win a championship and even maybe get WNBA Finals MVP.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So Sunday at 3. You can check out game 1 of the WNBA Finals again. New York Liberty, Las Vegas Aces. That's Sunday at 3:00.
MVP versus the Defensive Player of the Year.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, check that out if you're looking for some women's basketball action. That's going to be a great series. Ryder Cup. There was so much craziness. This was a weird year for the Ryder Cup. Like, there were a lot of additional storylines, man. First of all, the U.S. falls to Europe. Never really got anything going, I don't think, the whole time. But some of the peripheral stuff, I think, is what I want to talk about. Like, what was the hat situation? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it was. I really couldn't make it out. I mean, I'll say one thing. I stayed up till 1 a.m. the whole weekend, or just on Friday and Saturday, just to watch the matches. And USA had the first. So at the first on Friday, which is the first day, it was the second match. They cover the first hole for every match, and then they go to the featured match. This one guy is like a foot on the fringe, which is right before the green. He chips it in. Everyone's going crazy. It's like Europe showed up, and USA did not know what they were doing. USA hasn't won on European soil since 1993.
Yeah, I saw it had been some time. 7 straight wins now, right? For Europe. Yeah.
And the last Ryder Cup in 2021, USA won 19.5 to 9.5.
Right.
So they blew Europe out, and Europe didn't know that was going to happen. They thought, we're going to go in there, we're going to win this thing. But going back to the hat situation, it was between some players didn't wear hats. Like Sam Burns didn't wear a hat. Patrick Cantlay didn't wear a hat.
Yeah, Cantlay was the big one. He seemed to take a lot of heat for. He says the hat didn't fit.
Everyone was throwing shade at him on Twitter, and everyone was like, "Dude, be professional. You are professional. Wear your hat."
Yeah.
And he was like,
even his own teammates were giving him a hard time. Like he hit a shot and his teammates were tipping their caps out. I thought that was kind of funny. But
yeah, so like even like after he made a putt or something like that, he always did this, just like faking a hat, and he didn't have one, and no one liked it.
I think it's the sense as a golfer, like you're on the PGA Tour all the time. Yeah. You know, like you have to dress professionally. You have to dress according to the PGA. So I think Cantley and some other golfers wanted that freedom, free of choice. Like, hey, this is just for fun. You know, I'm playing for my country. I'm not playing for myself.
Yeah.
You know? So I think they just wanted a little freedom of it at the end of the day.
I get it. And I think there were some concerns about how, guys or how guys aren't being compensated, really, is what the concern was. There was a little bit of a contract issue. Do you guys are you familiar with that? Anybody familiar with what happened there or no?
No, I didn't hear anything about a contract issue at all.
Okay, I cannot remember. I apologize. I cannot remember which USA team member it was, but I know that one team member was about to get kicked off the team because he was like kind of questioning. It's like, hey man, we're donating a lot of time here, and it's not like this money is going to a charitable cause. I mean, these are like businesses and organizations that are profiting off. Basically the U.S. players felt that it's just them going to Rome to donate their time. And they're obviously they've got money. They're on the PGA Tour, but I mean they're basically paying their own way and not getting any compensation in return. I understand that. I guess I understand that concern. I don't know. This kind of stuff is tough for me. It's like, where do you draw the line in wanting to get paid? That's your job. You want to be compensated for doing your job, right?
Yeah, and I understand them wanting to be compensated for what they did. Me personally, they don't deserve it. They don't.
They do. maybe it's performance based, right?
Half those guys on Europe, the only 2 of them returned, or 4 of them were there. 4 of them were on that team. They absolutely, and half those USA guys were on the team the previous year.
Yeah.
The previous John Cup.
So you think there should have been some continuity, is what you're saying, right? They should have been able to. Yeah.
You would have thought that these guys have been together, like they played together before, and they're going to go whoop them in Europe.
Well, but you know how it is, though. Golf is such a fickle game. I mean, the course, the weather, everything going on. I mean, golf is it's a hard game, man.
They showed up with Sunday singles. I'll say that. That's all they showed up for.
At the end of the day, it's like, but I don't know why money is getting involved. Like, you're playing the sport that you've played all your life growing up playing. Play for the love of the sport, not for the money. It's not just golf. It's a bunch of other sports. But golf doesn't make as much revenue and money as other sports. So you have to take that into consideration too. But they think they're the best golfers in the world. They are some of the best golfers in the world. Yeah. But you can't let that get in between your ears. You just have to focus on playing your game. I mean,
but if you sign a contract that says you're going to get paid, you better get paid. Like if I'd be very upset if I signed a contract and I did not get paid.
Well, and I think that's what it was. I think the contract basically states like, hey, you're ours. Like, you come here and you play golf, and we do what we want with the money. And I think that was the issue at the end of the day. Again, I'm not 100% familiar with it. I just was kind of hitting some peripheral things, but it seemed like that was the main issue to me.
At the end of the day, I mean, the U.S. dug themselves into a deep hole the first 2 days. I mean, they were down 9.5 to 2.5. Yeah. They ended up losing 16.5 to 11.5, not able to retain. It's Europe's first title since 2018. I mean, John Rahm especially was great at the chipping side for Europe. He's from El País Vasco, Spain. One of my favorite European golfers, along with Rory McIlroy from Northern Ireland. He's always great, always in the top 10 in the PGA Tour individually, and he played a great round as well. And it was great to see Justin Rose as well from England. I haven't really watched him in a while. I know I used to watch him back in the early 2010s. He played a great game as well, especially on the green. His putting was sensational. And on the USA side, really enjoyed watching Max Homa. He had some nice drives as well, some nice chips as well. And Jordan Spieth, I don't get me wrong, like with Justin Rose for Europe, I enjoyed watching Jordan Spieth in the early 2010s, but I just thought he was hit or miss this weekend. He was either Jordan Spieth we know and loved in 2010, or the recent tournaments that Spieth has played, he's gone downhill. I don't really think he played that great. Definitely preferred his partner Justin Thomas. I think Justin Thomas played a lot better than Spieth this week. Really enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the U.S. couldn't pull it out, but very happy for Europe to get their first title, like I said, since 2018. And honestly, enjoyed watching them more than the U.S.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think golf's kind of a hit or miss sport sometimes. I mean, it's just sometimes it's just not there. I guess it's like any other sport, though. You show up and things just don't work. That's fine. So yeah, 2025 is the next Ryder Cup. It's every other year. They'll be back here in. I'm sorry.
There'll be a Bethpage Black.
Bethpage Black. I saw that. I couldn't remember the name of the course. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. So back here in the U.S. So who knows? Maybe they can get back to winning on home turf. Right? One other quick headline. Sadly, Boston Red Sox legend, knuckleballer Tim Wakefield passed away at 57 earlier last week, and I have a lot of memories of Wakefield on some of those Red Sox teams. I helped him break the curse or whatever. He was actually drafted out of college. I don't know if you would know this or not. He went to Florida Tech. He was a first baseman. He had 22 home runs in a season at Florida Tech. And he started at a different community. He was at Brevard Community College. This is kind of a cool story. I didn't know this until last night. He started at Brevard, and he quit the team. He felt like he just didn't belong. The guys were so good. Like, he felt like there was no place for him on that team. So he quit the team and ended up at Florida Tech. And, obviously that worked out for him. He was drafted by the Pirates, played 2 years there, and then spent 17 years in Boston. Just a legendary player, a legendary person. Won the Roberto Clemente Award in 2010. The Clemente Award recognizes extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, and positive contributions both on and off the field. I mean, that was Tim Wakefield. Like, that's Tim Wake. That's the microcosm of who Tim Wakefield was. I mean, he was a great person, great teammate, great clubhouse guy. From all accounts, treated everybody in that organization with respect. From the owner on down to the clubhouse guys and the ushers and this. I mean, just everyone treated everyone with respect. Wakefield was truly one of a kind, and he'll be greatly missed. I don't know if we'll ever really have another pitcher like Tim Wakefield. You guys have any Tim Wakefield memories?
His career to me is one of the coolest careers I've ever seen, because he came up with Pittsburgh, dominated his rookie season, had an ERA below 3. Then the next season was just terrible. Mm-hmm. Then the next year he didn't even play in the majors. Then he goes to Boston and pitches for 17 seasons after looking like his career might be over. And there were times in Boston where it looked like his career might be over. He was removed from the rotation, I believe, in 1999. Spent 3 years going in and out of the bullpen, ERAs around 5, and then all of a sudden he just kept going, and he just kept getting better as he got older, putting up better numbers. So he helped lift the curse in Boston. His career is just one that. It's amazing to look back on. It really is.
It's cool the way everything came together. His dad was a big softball player, and I've read interviews where his dad said he was so committed to softball that sometimes he felt like Tim, that Wakefield would sort of get like the short end of the stick. So he tried to go out and play catch with him whenever he could or whatever. And his dad threw a pretty good knuckleball. And I guess like when Tim Wakefield was younger, he would get so sick of trying to catch his dad's knuckleball, he'd quit. Like, I don't want to throw anymore. Like, I'm done. So I think early on he saw the effectiveness of it, right? And that probably stuck in his mind, and I think he just sort of tinkered with the grip of it, through his years of his life or whatever in his career. And baseball's kind of a hit or miss sport like golf. I mean, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not. But yeah, I mean, for him to stick with it, like you said, all those down years, and then the 2 World Series titles in 04 and 06. I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's a cool career.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah, 04 and 07. I'm sorry, 2004, 2007. Yeah, Jackson.
As a Yankees fan, you get familiar with the Red Sox over time. It becomes your second team. It's not because you like them, but you kind of got to follow the rival. Mm-hmm. And then you end up seeing guys on the Red Sox like Ramirez, Big Papi. You want them for the Yankees because when your team plays these guys, they do so much damage. Yeah. And I remember in the playoffs, 2003, things went our way against Wakefield. And in 04, it was historic, and it didn't go our way. And I remember after 04, I was saying, man, it'd be great if we had Wakefield after what just happened. So as a Yankee fan, I got to give respect. It's weird like that. You get a dynamic. You hate them as a team, but you can see individually who's who, and Wakefield makes that list.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a couple other Yankees fans that have basically expressed the same feeling. It's like you start to really you start to love those guys in a way. It's like your little brother that you quote unquote don't get along with, right? Like you fight all the time, but they're always there, right? Like they're always there. It's familiar.
But I mean, you got to follow them too, because when they meet up, you need to know how good or not good they are.
Yeah.
So I'm a Yankees fan, but I'm a Red Sox follower.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense for a lot of Red Sox and Yankees fans too. I think, it goes both ways. And I mean, like you said, you need to know, hey, is this team good enough to come back from a 3-0 deficit? I mean, that was wild.
Have you guys ever seen his knuckleball grip?
Yeah.
It's like, it's his ring finger and his middle finger, and then his pinky and his index are like above them. And it's just, I don't know how he does, like he did that for like.
It looks like it would hurt. It looks like it hurts to throw
that. It hurts me. It hurts just to hold it there.
Right. So that's impressive. He's one of a kind. He truly, he really will be missed. He was, great player, great person, truly one of a kind. You can't say it enough. Again, Tim Wakefield, gone at 57, sadly.
He's just one of those guys no one has anything bad to say about.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It's true. And I guess speaking of baseball and speaking of the playoffs, obviously that's where he did a lot of his damage. I mean, that's what's going on right now. I want to kind of get into that with you guys because we're at the wild card round now. Have you guys? Did you see all the game ones? I mean, what are your feelings kind of coming in? I guess we're one game into all these series now. Like, who moves on in these series? Jared, I'll go around. I just want to start with you. What's your takeaway so far from wild card?
The wild card, I think, is at least in the NL side, been very exciting. The AL side, I can't say that much. Like, I know I said it before the show. Definitely prefer the NL over the AL just because they're on prime time. Like, it's so hard to watch baseball during the week, during the day.
Yeah.
But obviously, as a Guardians guy, I don't want to see the Twins succeed, but they did definitely do that yesterday with Royce Lewis getting those 2 home runs.
Finally got off the snide. I mean, wow, that losing streak was amazing for them.
Yeah, first win since 2004. I mean, I originally had the Blue Jays winning 2 out of 3 in Minnesota because Minnesota, yes, they won the Central, but not with like a good record as other playoff teams. So I have the Blue Jays winning 2 out of 3 based off of yesterday's performance. Do I think they're going to win out of 2 to 3 now? No, I don't. But hopefully my prediction still comes out for that. As for the other AL matchup, the Rangers and the Rays, Rays could not get anything going offensively. I actually had the Rays winning 2-0 on that because the Rangers just keep going up and down, and they were at a downhill slide towards the end of the season. So I really thought with how good the Rays offense is that they would just sweep them. Obviously, that hasn't panned out either. Over on the NL side, I had the D-backs getting swept by Milwaukee, but the D-backs said, no, we don't like your prediction. We're just going to hit bombs all night.
Not so fast, my friend, right?
Yeah, Corbin Carroll is a stud, man. And I'll tell you what, he's going to win NL Rookie of the Year. I mean, his speed is just electric, and I love watching him play. He's just that player that doesn't say anything. He just goes out and does his job and plays the game he loves, and that's what we love as baseball fans. As for Phillies and Marlins, I definitely think the Phillies are going to get the sweep tonight against the Marlins. Phillies played a great first game. Took a little while for the offense to get going, but Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, all contributing last night. And Zach Wheeler was just dominant. He was lights out, painting the corners. I believe he had 8 strikeouts last night.
Yeah. And
it was just a beauty to watch him pitch. Looking forward to Game 2 tonight. But yeah, my predictions are not looking that good so far.
It happens, man. Baseball's weird. And I told you the Phillies are kind of a weird team. They're not really built for 162, but they are built for these short series. I think that's why they're so dangerous. Did you guys hear what Luis Arias said, by the way, with Marlins, what Luis Arias said yesterday? I don't know if it was yesterday, but he said his parents wouldn't be in town for Game 1, but they'd be in Atlanta for that series. So maybe they'll enjoy the Phillies and the Braves. I have no idea, but we'll see. Max, what's your takeaway? I mean, give me your 4 teams that kind of move on from this wild card round. And we can look at the bracket too if you want. If we can throw the bracket up while we talk, maybe we can throw the playoff bracket up, and we can kind of give people a visual on this.
I know the Diamondbacks are gonna have sweep tonight because the Brewers were in a tight fight all year, and so were the Diamondbacks. But the Diamondbacks halfway through the year were first place before the Dodgers even started to heat up. So I think the Diamondbacks are gonna sweep tonight. I think Miami is gonna win tonight, but the Phillies are gonna win in 3 because I think Luis Arraez is gonna go 4 for 4 tonight. Texas is going to sweep the Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay can never do good in the playoffs. Learning from last year after a 15-inning battle against the Guardians and Corey Kluber, a former Indian, giving up the walk-off homer. And then
the Rays are built for like the first 30 games of the season, and that's it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I mean, as we saw this summer, they were the best team in baseball until
like
the All-Star
28-2, and then they just barely hung on the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Like that's fine.
And then I have the Blue Jays coming back because last year's heartbreaking defeat to the Seattle Mariners after they were up 8-1 in Game 2, and the Mariners came back to win that game.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm going to go back to my Mariners prediction. That almost worked out. The Mariners were 2 games out of the final wild card.
Yeah, your Mariners' prediction to win the World Series almost worked out when they just missed the playoff. Good job there.
You were so close.
They were
close.
They were a game out. They had to beat Texas, but Texas clinched a spot, and then Arizona had to beat Houston, but they lost 1-0.
Yeah.
And they had some magic because it was a 4-game series against Texas.
Yeah.
That Thursday they hit a walk-off double. And then that Friday, there was a 4-0 in like the 4th inning. Then they hit a grand slam to make it 8-0. I'm like, oh my God.
It looked good. It looked good.
And then it totally fell flat.
All that for nothing.
Well,
He
that's
did
enough.
all that stat to not make the.
But that's okay. That can fuel you as a team, right? Like as long as you can keep the core together, like that kind of stuff, like those losses hurt. But man, like if you've got a bunch of competitive guys, if you've got 26 guys in that clubhouse that want to win, that kind of stuff, even the guys that you bring in that weren't there, I mean, you sort of start to pick up on that, right? Like those heartbreaking losses at the end of the season.
This was supposed to be the year for the Mariners. This was supposed to be like a huge year for them. Like there had so many expectations coming into this year. They played the Astros last year in the ALDS. People were like, oh, this is the team that can maybe compete with the Astros, take the AL West from them, and to them to miss the playoffs this season, it's such a huge disappointment. And their GM came out and said yesterday that like they're not trying to win the World Series. They're just trying to win 54% of their games over a 10-year period or something like that. Like,
ticket sales immediately went down.
It was a really weird thing to say from the GM, and now Mariners fans are calling for his head for that, which I don't blame them because he literally said he's not trying to win the World Series. He's trying to win 54% of their games.
That's unbelievable.
Now, Chad, let me ask you this. Do the Mariners have another 21-year playoff drought?
No. The core's too good. They're going to get
core. They do have a good core.
The problem is the Mariners are on the rise, and I think the Astros are getting to that point where they're kind of cresting the hill a little bit. The Astros maybe have another 2 or 3 really solid years
Before everybody retires.
Well, yeah, but we'll have to see. I mean, scouting and development is going to come into play, right? Like this is where you got to draft well, you got to develop guys, and sometimes when teams get in that window, like the Braves are in the window, right? The Braves farm system is awful because they've literally shipped everybody out to supplement, everywhere else. I mean, we had to get Sean Murphy, we had to get Matt Olson, we had to, you got to send guys out to do that, right? So you never really can have both. You can't be in your window. And sometimes teams get smart. They start to get to the end of their window, and that's when they start restocking the farm system. But I don't know if Houston's there yet. I don't know. We'll see. I think Seattle can win that division. Maybe a couple times in the next 4 or 5 years, I think. But Texas is going to be a problem too. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to make any predictions because I will be wrong. Jameson, who do you have, man? I'm just going to go around the horn. Baseball term, right? Who do you have moving on from the first round?
I think the Rays win today and the Rangers move on out of the first round, so they win in Game 3. I think the Blue Jays will win 2 straight. I think the Phillies close it out with Aaron Nola tonight. And I do think the Brewers will win tonight only because Zach Gallen has struggled on the road and he's had a 4.52 ERA on the road this year, which isn't the best. And you can't really count on a lineup to give you 5+ runs in back-to-back games, especially in the playoffs. So I'll definitely take the Brewers tonight, but for that one, that's probably tough. I'll take I'll take Arizona to move on just because Milwaukee has a tendency to choke in the playoffs.
That's fair. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of agreeing with most of the crew. Arizona.
Is that a Brewers reference? Are you going the Brew Crew on me? No? Okay.
Well, everybody is like, it's so early, and after last night, I'm pretty much solidified that Toronto will come back over Minnesota. I still think Minnesota is the representative of the weakest division in baseball. So I'm going with Toronto there. I don't trust Minnesota. Texas, they're definitely much better than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has been average for quite some time, and they will get exposed this afternoon. I do like Arizona over Milwaukee because, as Jameson said, they're untrustworthy and they have a tendency to pretty much fall on their own sword no matter how good of a season they have. And I just think the Philadelphia Phillies, unfortunately, it would be cool to see the Marlins go forward. Just, break up it's the Phillies again.
Mm-hmm.
But Phillies is much more built for the postseason.
Yeah.
They have more experience in this area. I think Marlins are probably feeling a little happy to be there, possibly about the situation. It took so much of the last month just to make the wild card spot. I think they might be exhausted, and that series will be a wrap. Philadelphia.
Okay. Nick, what are your takeaways? I mean, do you have any hot takes for the first round? Anything crazy?
So I had Tampa beating the Rangers, but mainly because I didn't trust the Rangers' pitching depth. They needed their starters to give them a lot of innings, and thankfully for them, Jordan Montgomery did yesterday. He was great, 7 scoreless innings, and that's exactly what you need if you're the Rangers because they have a shaky bullpen. Yeah. And the Rays' defense was awful yesterday. They made 4 errors. And now I think that the Rangers do end up winning that series. In the other AL series, I had the Twins winning that series, and I do think that they still will because I think they have 9 above league average hitters in that lineup. Like, they don't have an easy out in that lineup. They just don't. And they do have really good pitching too with Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, and a good back end of the bullpen. You guys saw Duran yesterday coming in throwing 103 to close it out.
He's always throwing that.
Yeah. So I do think the Twins move on in that series. Another series I was wrong was Milwaukee because I had Milwaukee beating the Diamondbacks because in Game 1 it's Corbin Burns, former Cy Young winner, taking on a rookie who had an ERA over 5. And if Arizona somehow won that game against Corbin Burns, and now Milwaukee does not have Brandon Woodruff available for this series, and the Diamondbacks have their ace going tonight in Zach Gallen. So Milwaukee's in a really tough spot right now. So I think Arizona moves on in that series. And Phillies Marlins, I think Philly's just the much better team, and they're going to cruise through that series. But, yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Phillies are the better team. I think the Marlins are. It's fun. Like they're upstart, right? Like things are going on. I mean, they've slid into the somehow. If you were going to pick back at the beginning of the season, if you said, okay, 3 NL East teams make the playoffs, would you have excluded the Mets? I mean, in April, would you have thought like the Mets wouldn't make the playoffs? That's wild, right?
No.
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, so it's cool that the Marlins are in. I do think it's kind of like Jackson said. Hey, we're happy to be here. We're getting our feet wet. Maybe next year they'll be a little healthier, and they can make a serious run. But I do think Philly closes that series out in 2.
It's Miami's first full season playoff appearance since 2003.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know what happened then.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the past 6 months, they were in a tight contest with Cincinnati, San Diego, the other teams. Who was it?
Chicago.
Chicago. That became a little playoff. And if you came out of it, you might feel like you've accomplished something. Like, hey, we made it. So it's an emotional thing. Your body is telling you, hey, you're being successful. You won. You got there. But in the real big scheme of things, you've done nothing yet.
Yeah. But like you said, sometimes that mentality can carry you through. I mean, like having a fight for the end of the season can, make you a little scrappier in the playoffs,
It can exhaust you, though.
It can do that too.
We're working so hard to get this 3rd spot. and then you get it, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah,
now, how
that's
do you
it.
know the team won after, ugh, you know?
That's it. That's it. The release. So it's like, okay,
Right.
that's when you let down, right? That's when
Right.
it happens. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I've got the Phillies moving on. I originally picked the Brewers in this Diamondback series. I'm going to stick with them. I know they have a tendency to fall flat, and it looks like they may be doing that again, but I'm going to stick with the Brewers. I think the Brewers come back in that series and move on. I do think the Twins beat the Blue Jays. I think the Twins move on in that series, and I think it's the Rangers over the Rays. So yeah, I mean, we're looking at some interesting, I think, second round matchups. Listen, I'm a Braves fan. You guys know that. Everyone, I see all the stuff on social media where people are like, oh, just give the Braves the trophy now. But I think that's something that, it's October baseball. It's harder. I think, Jameson, you said it. You can't count on a lineup to give you 5 runs every night in the playoffs, right? Even the Braves lineup. I don't think it's going to be just this automatic 8 or 9 runs a game. The Braves win, 9-8 because the bullpen's not great right now, or 11-10 or whatever. I don't think it's automatic. I think the Phillies scared me a little bit. I mean, the Braves have had some struggles lately against this Phillies starting pitching. And I also want to get your guys' take real quick. Over under. What's going to be higher in this series? Kyle Schwarber's batting average or the number of home runs he hits?
Whoa. I mean, that's an interesting take, but I would say his batting average, because, I mean, he did go 1 for 5 last night with a single, so you got to give him credit for doing something besides hitting out of the ballpark. So I definitely think his batting average will go up higher than his home runs.
So he's at the Mendoza line. Congratulations to Kyle Schwarber. He has reached the Mendoza line in the MLB playoffs. I'm happy for him.
Chad,
yeah.
I appreciate your false modesty when it comes to the Braves. I get that. I get what you have to do as being a host of the show. I get that. But what I'm not going to let you do this morning, you're not going to run the sympathy train and act like the Braves have this chance of possibly struggling, and it's going to be so hard to win another World Series this year. You know what I mean, man? You're not going to pull that this morning, the day after everything started. I'm not going to let you get away with that. You know you guys are in great shape. You know you can't wait to see the Dodgers. You know you can't wait to see the Astros. You know what I mean? Don't even try it this morning, but that's all.
Philly beat them last year. They can beat them again.
Yeah, they could beat them again. And listen, I feel all those things. I agree with you on all. I'm very confident, but that's also why I'm scared, because I'm confident.
The Braves are the favorites, no doubt. The Braves are the favorites. But in baseball, the favorite. When does the team with the best record actually win the World Series in baseball? It rarely happens.
Have the best record. The Braves don't just have the best record. I mean, if you go through the lineup, they got numbers that can get you a ring. Those guys are consistent 1 through 9.
Speaking of spooky season, man, they're terrifying. Yeah.
There's not a weak bat in the lineup. So
that's why it's called the postseason. You start from 0. What you did in the regular
season can happen, though. Anything can happen.
It's true. And I've seen the Braves have this tendency to fail as an organization when they are at the top of the mountain, right? I've seen too many 103, 104, win teams go down in the first round and not even win a playoff game. Like
that's what the Guardians
I've seen it.
17, they won 100 and something games. I mean, Seattle in 2001 have the most wins in the regular season ever.
Yeah. Right,
the
Braves won 14 straight divisional titles, and we only have 1 ring to show for it.
The Braves had Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz for 15 years and only got 1 World Series out of that.
Yeah, so that's that modesty is not false. Like, I'm very confident, but I'm also very aware that the Phillies could sweep them in the second. The Phillies could take them out.
Let's just say the bettors are in trouble. The sports bettors are in trouble.
Hold on. Let Jackson finish. I want to hear what Jackson said.
You're letting him do it again. He just said the Phillies could sweep the Braves. You guys are going to let that. You're going to let him get away with that. Chad,
it doesn't matter until the Phillies officially make it. Like, it doesn't matter until they play. Like, at the end of the day, like, obviously I care because I love baseball, but I don't care that much because the Guardians are not in it.
Yeah, I'm a Yankee fan. How'd we do yesterday? You want my Yankee take? You want me to?
You guys all want to jump on the bandwagon? There's plenty of room on the Braves bandwagon. We've got comfortable seats. It's fine.
I've joined the Orioles bandwagon. I've already joined the Orioles bandwagon. I'm on the Orioles bandwagon.
All right. I was going to say pack a lunch, though, because we're not going to provide you with food. But yeah, hopefully the Braves do win the title. I'm looking forward to it. I love October baseball. I'm actually taking these couple of days off. I'm not going to watch any October baseball because I get so stressed out watching the Braves in October. that I can't handle watching teams that I don't care about right now. Like I just need the time off. I need some time off from baseball. We'll start up next week. I do want to ask you guys this though, because I do want to move on. It was a really it was a fun weekend in college football, right? We've talked about it before. I think every weekend in college football is fun until you get to the Blue Gray Classic and the last couple of weeks of the season. Again, not that we don't love those games. It's just that there's it's slim pickings at that time, right? But yeah, there were some crazy games this weekend that really caught my eye, and I tried to watch some of these too. I caught a lot of this Georgia Auburn game, and let me tell you, man. I mean, Georgia really they escaped Auburn, right? Like they barely got out of there with a win. Auburn shot themselves in the foot so many times. A better team would have beaten Georgia on Saturday. Just even a more disciplined, not even a better team, a better disciplined team would have beaten Georgia on Saturday. Did you guys watch this game at all?
Chad. Oh,
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember at the start of the college football season, before we even really, it was week 0, it's like the week before, I said Brock Bowers was the most important guy on the offense. I remember making that statement.
Yeah.
I also remember explaining why, how he's kind of like the nucleus of things as far as the blocking. He can move like a receiver. It was no shock what happened. However, I do want to put on the record, Georgia is the most suspect #1 undefeated team in the SEC. And the only reason I'm saying that is because they were picked at 3-peat. If they didn't win the title the past 2 years, I wouldn't have just said what I said. But because of the expectation level, because we've already seen them win 2 in a row, these guys are destined. Someone's going to give them that L.
Yeah, they look like it.
They're #1, but they're not #1 because they're technically they're #1 right now, but they're not playing like a #1 team.
They're only #1 by default because they're the champ. Nobody beat them, but they look like they're ready. They're ready to take it.
By default, and because they're in the toughest conference in college football. So, I mean,
but they haven't even gotten into that yet. You know what I mean? They haven't even gotten into the teeth of that.
And their schedule is so much lighter than it was last season. So much lighter. So the fact that they're barely beating these teams with a lighter schedule is scary for Georgia fans.
Do you think that plays into it? Do you think so part of it comes into like, okay, we've won, we haven't lost a game in, I don't remember how many days it is since Georgia's lost a game. It's a while, right? It's like over 600 days, 700 days. So do you think boredom starts to play into this a little bit, where it's just like, okay, well, this isn't really even exciting until we get to like the SEC championship, or until we, go to Bama, or until we see this first playoff game? Like, do you think some of this is just sort of like, it's kind of monotonous? We're going to get through these games.
It might be boredom, but it also might be like they're too chillaxed. They're not putting enough pressure on themselves, and then it's going to come back to bite them in the butt.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you have Kirby Smart. You have to apply all the pressure. It doesn't matter who you're facing. You have to go pedal to the metal all the time. You're in the SEC. Yeah. It's going to catch up to you, and then you're not even going to be in the playoff, maybe.
Yeah. Jameson, I mean, is Georgia the #1 team in the nation right now? I mean, they are, but should they be?
By default, they will still be the #1 team until they lose.
Yeah.
I even think if, let's say, all the undefeated teams lost in the same week, hypothetically, I think Georgia would literally move down to the last spot out of all those undefeated teams. I'm not really big on Carson Beck. I'm not really a huge fan of him. Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers are literally that's all they got. They don't really have I don't know why it's so weird seeing a Georgia team with not a crazy run game, because all they have.
I was gonna say, what happened to all the Georgia always had a great running back.
They always have good running back,
and now they don't. Who is it?
Going back to even when they had Isaiah Crowell, they always just had good running backs, or Todd Gurley, or Nick Chubb, or Tony Michelle, all these guys. But I don't know. I think Texas is the real #1 team. Obviously, I will never give credit to the University of the team. Those people, I will never give credit to. But
they deserve it.
But yeah, Georgia won't be #1 because this Saturday they will lose to the Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Davis. So quite honestly, we don't have much longer of Georgia being at #1.
I definitely think Kentucky has a good chance because they obliterated Florida, and Florida beat Tennessee, who was ranked at 11 at the time. So I
The transitive property. I love it. College football. I love this. That's
Now,
so-and-so beat so-and-so, so so-and-so cannot beat that.
Yes, it's a domino effect, So, I mean, I would, as a college football fan and as an Ohio State fan, you want to see the top teams lose so Ohio State can move up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would like to see Kentucky beat Georgia, and I think they have a legitimate shot. It's going to be very interesting,
It's
to say the least.
Okay.
Hey, check.
Jackson, yeah.
The one thing we're not remembering here with Georgia, the difference between the last 2 years championship teams these guys were looking at, two people died, football team related.
Yeah.
There's a dark cloud. I'm sure the vibe is different than it's been in past years. They lost a teammate. It got real messy. It went public. Kids got arrested even after the fact. A guy went to the draft. I just think it doesn't get discussed enough, but they're kids. Ultimately, these guys are kids. And I think there's probably some type of I don't want to say bad energy, but I just don't think it's as fun and games anymore. I think something like that traumatic and that publicized, I think it can affect kids that age.
Of course.
I'll say one
That's a
thing
great
about
point.
Georgia is like Clemson. Clemson reached the top of the mountain. They went to 3 straight college football playoff finals, and they won one of those. Is that right? They went to 3 straight.
To your point, like when you get there, to the top, and there's only you're consistent at the top, and you stay there. You can only go down, right?
Right, and
I think it's too early to say this. Like, they haven't lost a game yet. To say
Right.
that they're going down.
They could very well go 15-0. Yeah, sure.
They played at University of Tennessee Martin. That's I know people from when I was at high school that go there to play football. They are not that good.
Are you trying to say that your people in high school that you know aren't that good at football, Max? Is that what you're
I
saying?
didn't say that. The team is not good.
All
But
right. Okay. Well, all right.
But
So Max's former classmates, hey, if you went to UT Martin, Max does not believe in your football skills, I guess.
But Georgia almost losing to an unranked Auburn.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Auburn's not great.
Auburn's not great, and they almost beat the #1 team in the country.
Yeah. I mean,
This weekend.
it's like they had the ghost of Bo Nix back there at quarterback for a little while. I don't know what was going on.
Right. And I thought that this week Georgia was on the road again because they were home for 4 straight games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually got the road game against 2 weeks from now for Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Georgia has 11 home dates this year. I don't know if you know that. I'm just kidding.
It's
You're probably right, Chad.
I think that Kentucky can go in there and put up a fight.
If Devin plays good.
But
Listen, we kind of laughed when Jameson said they were going to beat him, but I think Kentucky has a legit shot to beat Georgia. Why not?
And they do. And if they beat a good Florida team who beat, as Jared said, an 11th ranked Tennessee, who we knew was a good team going in after what they did last year, being the #1 ranked team for a little bit.
Listen, I think we're going to find out the SEC isn't quite up to par this year, right? There's a lot of teams that they're still top tier, but they're not top. They're like, you know what I mean? There's a notch, right? There's a notch.
If Georgia has to come back this weekend or win in overtime, they'll drop to #2. Michigan will drop to #3 because let's face it, everybody, Michigan's not played anybody.
No, they haven't. But I don't think Georgia's getting jumped until they lose, Max. I don't think anybody's taking over that #1 spot with back-to-back titles. And
Texas
83 or whatever.
Oklahoma.
They will definitely.
Texas will jump to 1.
I would believe.
Ooh, it's possible, yeah. Because Texas, I was gonna say Texas needs a huge win over a ranked opponent, and they have Oklahoma.
Well, they did blow out ranked Kansas last week.
And they did beat #2 Alabama.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say you can't jump to #1. No one's gonna jump Georgia unless they get a huge, big time top 10 win, which Texas has a chance to do this weekend.
Unless Texas pulls an Ohio State, meaning when Ohio State beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game 59-0 to jump up into the college football playoff and win the college football championship, unless Texas beats Oklahoma 59-0 this weekend, they're not going to move up to #1. They need a significant, dominant win.
What if they beat them 56-0?
I think that suffices as long as you beat them 54.
Okay, so there's no line at 57 or 58.
I mean, I'm not in the committee, but
when I was younger,
Are you sure?
I was watching I think it was like when we still had Ezekiel Elliott and all those good receivers. I think like Michael Thomas's last year, maybe.
Slant King, Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I was looking at the screen, at the scoreboard, and I'm like, I'm like, Dad, what is that number next to Ohio State? And I'm like, because that was the year after we won, or no, Michael Thomas wasn't on that team that we won the national championship on, was he?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
So
Are you okay, Max? Are you okay? Okay.
I'm okay. I'm great. So I was looking at the screen. I'm like, Dad, what is that number 3? And he's like, I don't know. I've never seen that before.
He'd never seen a number 3 before?
Okay, like next to the Ohio State name.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I didn't know.
All right, sure.
We're a count to 2 kind of family here. We don't.
I was like, Dad, what is this number 3 and why is it here? And he
Max,
was,
where are you going with this, buddy? Where are we headed right now?
Ohio State was number 1 at the beginning of the season. And then I didn't see that number 1. And then 1 week randomly, I see the number 3. I'm like, we didn't lose to anybody.
That is true. Ohio State did drop that year without losing to anyone. I do remember that. But
I was so confused.
But that's Ohio State. The media hates Ohio State. That's what Buckeyes fans tell me, right?
Hey, the media does hate Ohio State.
I mean, we do have the biggest fan base, so.
But like, there's
Well,
no way
listen,
more hated than Alabama and Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't think there's a clear number 1 team. If there is a number 1 team in the nation right now, I think it's Texas. I think I agree with you, James. I think they're number 1. I don't know that they'll get there until Georgia loses, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if they keep winning, they'll get into the playoffs. They'll have a chance to prove it anyway, right?
They're bad.
Isn't Texas in the SEC next year?
Yes.
It doesn't matter until it gets down to crunch time at the end of the
No, it doesn't matter until we're a few weeks later in the season. If a couple teams lose now anyway, it'll all shake out. We'll figure it out anyway. But I want to move on to a team that we have a little bit of, obviously Notre Dame went to Duke, and listen, I mean, that was a good game. Did you guys watch it?
I watched that whole game. That was an amazing football game.
So in a way, it kind of made me sick. It was an amazing football game, but in a way, it made me sick to my stomach because I felt like Duke played Notre Dame very similarly to the way Ohio State played Notre Dame. And I felt really good last weekend. I was like, man, they just beat a tough Notre Dame team. And then, Duke basically did the same thing. They just couldn't finish. Do you guys feel that way at all?
Maybe we underestimated Duke. Maybe we think Duke is better than we thought.
Duke is really good. I don't think there's any doubt. But I don't think Duke is a top 10 team. Do you?
No.
Top 15, maybe. Top 15.
Top 15 for sure.
Top 15 for sure, but not top 10. I mean.
Okay. And where's the distinction, really? I mean, how far off? Okay, if we're number 9 or if you're number 12, is there that big of a difference? I mean, they're good.
That was my next statement. If you're in the top 25, even if you're in the top 25, what they're saying is of all the D1 schools, coast to coast, north and south, you guys are in the top 25. Number 25 should be able to go on tour and go undefeated.
You're better than over 100 teams. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that is.
At the end of the day, I think Duke's offense is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Or not offense, excuse me. Their defense is pretty solid. Their defense is pretty solid.
Their defense kept them in that game.
Their offense is just doesn't have that power to jump levels.
It's not sharpened.
Riley Leonard on Saturday night could not get anything going. And all season he was like one of the best quarterbacks getting things started, using his legs and using his arm. But when he went to use his legs, nothing was there for him. And then when he threw the ball, nothing was there for him.
Well, and now he has a high ankle sprain. So
yeah. And that first quarter of that game, I'm like, oh, Duke's about to get blown out.
Yeah, it felt like it. Yeah.
And then Duke, something happened at halftime, and Duke just turned it on. But they couldn't.
Mike Elko happened. Mike Elko is what happened to Duke. I mean, period.
Right. They just couldn't finish. And that big run for Sam Hartman, that was a key play of the game.
Yeah.
I think if they stopped him, they would have kicked the field goal and they still would have won.
Jameson, do you still feel as good with the Ohio State win over Notre Dame after watching that Duke Notre Dame game?
Yeah. I mean, because it was just 2 ranked teams playing each other. Honestly, in my opinion, I think everyone kind of knew that was going to be a scrappy, low-scoring defensive affair. I don't think anyone expected a shootout. I'm going to keep saying this. Riley Leonard, he's going to be way better at the next level. He's literally Josh Allen, right, in terms of, he's at Wyoming, right, or not Riley Leonard.
No one really talked about Josh Allen either.
Right, no one talked about Josh Allen. They both went to small schools. They're both kind of project-esque quarterbacks. He uses his legs, strong arm, and his accuracy is just not sharpened. So once he finds the right coach, he'll be fine. But no one's talking about Mitchell Evans. No one's like, okay, Brock Bowers, yeah, he's the best tight end in the nation. Mitchell Evans is the second best tight end in the nation. I mean, he is amazing. He had back-to-back weeks now with crazy one-hand catches. And it wasn't like Sam Hartman was throwing the best of passes on Saturday. Mitchell Evans went out there and made Sam Hartman's 10-cent performance come out to $1 million because, I mean, 6 catches for 134 yards is not what I think the game plan was, because Notre Dame, as we know, they like running the ball.
They barely ran that football.
With all 50 of their running backs, yeah.
That run game won them that game. Literally. Sam Hartman's run and then Estime's run to the end zone.
Yeah, Estime had both of their touchdowns. See, I didn't even get to watch that game. I forget what game I was watching, but yeah, I saw the end of it, and Duke just blew it.
Yeah,
it just looked like Duke just literally blew it.
Duke had some solid drives in the fourth quarter.
All right.
But
yeah. Hey,
One
listen,
thing I want to add before we move on.
Go ahead.
One thing to add, what I got from the Notre Dame game is I see it's very critical if you're a Buckeyes fan. You really need Notre Dame to run the table from here because they're another one. They look suspect to get another L somewhere before it's over. Yeah. So as a Buckeye fan, we need them to do well. And I just think they're going to be stressed this year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if they have 2 or 3 losses, I think that win looks a lot. It just looks a lot less impressive. And I think people are hard on the Buckeyes for that. I think so. I agree with you. I want to move on to the last college game we're going to talk about, and we're I can't believe, wow.
Believe it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how fast
it's been a running clock. The game has been a running clock the whole time.
We've been up 35-0 since the first quarter in this show, so it's fine. But listen, USC barely hung on, right, to beat Colorado. I mean, they were blowing Colorado out. And listen, the Buffalo showed me something on Saturday, man. They fought back. It would have been really easy to pack it in after what happened the week before with Oregon and then getting blown out against USC. It would have been really easy to say, okay, listen, maybe this isn't our year. We'll take our 6-6 and know that that's improvement or whatever. But, I mean, they fought back, and they made that a game, a one-score game, and ended up 48-41. Real quick, I just want to go around the horn. And Jared, I mean, did you watch any of that game at all?
I actually watched the first quarter, and then when it was 21-0, I turned it off thinking that Colorado wasn't going to come back.
Yeah, because I started looking around for other games. But I just quickly, I want you guys to give me just a quick opinion. We don't even really have too much time for any analysis on it, but is it more of an indictment on USC, or is that a testament to Colorado's character to come back and make that a one-score game?
I think it's an indictment on USC.
Okay. Okay, Max, what do you think?
I think that it was partially USC's fault that they almost lost that. It was the whole defense on USC's fault. But Colorado, from 35 or 28-7 to make it a one-score game with a minute and a half left, that shows that's character right there. So I
think that shows a lot of heart. Jameson, what did you think, man? More of an indictment on USC, or just does it show you Colorado's heart and their drive?
Yeah, the whole USC defense needs to be executed. It's an indictment on them for sure, and I would definitely say it's an attest to Colorado's character because they were able to persevere without Travis Hunter and Shiloh Sanders, so 2 of their top corners. So,
do you guys think that game would have changed if Shiloh and Travis Hunter were there?
Of course. Of course. Yeah, you have that much dynamic speed in the defensive backfield. Of course it.
They could have won that game if that kicker did a better onside kick. That he kicked that right to the guy.
No, that was the worst.
Yeah, that happens though. I mean, that just happens. That's a thing. That's a physical thing. Jackson, what do you think about this? Colorado or USC? Who's this on?
I agree with everyone as far as saying it's definitely a black eye on USC. I mean, you know what? After last week, I became a Colorado fan. I can honestly say I can feel it. It's not like I don't feel bandwagon or trendy is what I'm saying. I'm ordering me a hat. So with that being said, USC should have, blew the doors off of Colorado, all things considered. Yeah. Last thing I want to say is, Max, I didn't like your question as far as, I mean, what do you just asked that? Like, for everyone to hear, bruh, that game could have been totally different, and Colorado could have won that game if they were fully loaded. That's my biggest concern of the whole thing. How would Colorado be looking right now if they didn't have the people out that they do?
Right.
And that's with horrible lines on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I don't think it would have helped them against Oregon, but USC, I definitely think it would have changed the game. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this just shows that USC's defense is not national championship caliber at all, and that if USC does run the table and go undefeated, which I'm not that confident in because of their defense, if they make the playoff, I think they'll get blown out by any other team in the playoff just because their defense is so bad. But it also showed me that both the quarterbacks are top. It showed why both those quarterbacks are going to be top 10 picks in the draft next year.
Yeah, they both played like Heisman candidates, didn't they? I mean, they both played really, really well. Yeah, I was impressed with Colorado. Jameson, let me ask you one real quick take. USC's defense, are we executing them humanely or inhumanely?
No, you just kind of just put them on a plane, fly them into Bermuda, and just turn the other way.
Fair enough. So into the triangle, see you later, bottom of the ocean.
Go back to the drawing board.
Now, if you look at it too,
They might actually have a better chance. Wait, hear me out. They might actually have a better chance if they just don't put a defense on the field. Let the other team score and get the offense back out there, right?
right, and
Honestly,
you think
yeah.
that because last year they couldn't close it out against Utah 2 times in a row.
Or
Tulane.
Or
Well, listen,
Tulane,
hey, like I
exactly.
said, we've been having way too much fun. I want to get to the Browns. We got to move on from college football. I want to move on to how bad the Browns looked, or maybe how good Lamar Jackson looked. I'm not really sure which one it was. But I think we know now that DTR is not ready to run this offense with the first team, right? Like we know that. That's okay, right? Nobody expected him to come out and be Peyton Manning in his first start. But I did expect him to be an NFL quarterback. I thought he would be an NFL quarterback. It didn't look so good. It wasn't great. Quick takeaways on this, man. I mean, what do you think about the Browns now? Is any of the excitement tempered any or no?
To me, there's no real takeaways from this game just because they got behind so early because the offense could not stay on the field. And DTR turned the ball over early, set the Ravens up inside the 20. That's just a whole different game if Deshaun Watson is playing. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's an entire different game if Deshaun Watson is playing. The Ravens got 14 points off of turnovers. So the Browns defense really only gave up 14. And that's a whole different. I mean, they probably could have given up more points. It's just a whole different game.
I thought the defense played well, but Lamar threw some balls that were just, impeccably thrown, man. I mean, the accuracy was unbelievable on Sunday.
I'm not that worried about the defense, really. Okay. I'm not that worried about it. There aren't a lot of big takeaways for me. I'm just upset that now they're 2-2 going into San Francisco next.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one.
That's what hurts.
That's a game I think they can't win. A lot of it depends on Watson's health, but that's a game I don't think they can win that game.
No, they could, but Deshaun needs to play like he did against Tennessee if they want to have a chance to win that game.
Well, he needs to play.
Yes.
I'll say one thing. The Ravens absolutely exposed that defensive line and that pressure. Because if you look at it,
they were tired. They were on the field the whole game. They were
tired. Fair too, Nick. I mean, that's fair to say too.
First on the field, they played great. But then after that first drive, if you guys noticed, the Ravens started moving the pocket away from Myles Garrett. And then that's
mean. He wants to play too.
I know he does, right. So they moved it, they shifted it to wherever opposite side he was on.
Yeah. Za'Darius was also not in there. Za'Darius was also not in there.
Yeah, that hurts.
They ran the read option. And when they did sit in the pocket, they threw it quick. And when they did play the ball to his side, when they did play the ball to his side, they got it out fast and they made sure they picked him up.
Yeah. Hey, Jameson, let me ask you a question. To Max's point, do you think that Browns-Ravens game would have been different if the Browns would have scored more points than the Ravens?
Well, no, knowing the Browns, they probably would have found a way to lose the game.
They could still lose, score more points. It's the Browns.
But if anything, it's not. This isn't my takeaway from the game. I have nothing to take away from the game, right? When I found out Deshaun wasn't playing, let's just say I didn't really want to feel like watching the game, but I
Unless,
still went to the game.
let's be honest. Unless you bought a ticket for the game, if you found out Deshaun wasn't playing, nobody watched the game.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was
I
beautiful
watched
outside. People are probably gardening or going for a walk
There
with
you
their
go.
dog.
There you
I
go.
mean,
I'm glad you
know-
said gardening. That's exactly what I did. I mowed my yard. And listen, I watched the first half because I was excited. I told you guys I thought people by week 4 would be calling for DTR. Okay, I didn't think that was the way it was going to happen. But I did say on the show, I said by week 4 we will be calling for DTR. Not us, just people on sports radio shows. People call and say crazy things all the time. I told you it would be said. I didn't think it would really happen. It did happen. It was weird. But before I get to you, Jackson, I want to say this real quick. It's weird that it's the 4th game in a row with the Browns where it's hard to have a takeaway because it was like, okay, the first was like, okay, well, the weather was weird. Burrow's calf. Okay, fine. And then you get the Steelers game. Chubb gets hurt. It's a weird game. Okay, no takeaway there. Then you play against Ryan Tannehill. Okay, no takeaway there. And then you play, the Ravens and this weird, and DTR goes out there and Watson can't hurt, or he can't play at the last second. He's hurt. No takeaway. So the Browns have had these like 4 weeks in a row, and now they have the bye week where there's no takeaway.
Right.
Except maybe guys get healthy or whatever. But it's just weird. They've had 4 games in a row where it's hard to really look at them and analyze what they are as a team, right? Isn't that weird?
And honestly, they're not going to have a takeaway when they face the 49ers either, because they're going to get their butt kicked against.
They're going to get their tails kicked in that game. Jackson, go ahead.
They're going to have to wait like 4 weeks.
The thing is, Browns fans and you guys are saying you're not taking away anything from these games every week. And I'm looking at it this way. The NFL is the hardest sport to get a W in. The NFL only plays 1 game a week. You only get 17 opportunities. You know what I mean? So the Browns are 2-2. Be grateful, because what you are getting to take away every week is you're getting to see what your team can do when guys like Chubb aren't there, when guys like Deshaun ain't there, when guys are moving the pocket away from your MVP defensive lineman. You're getting a look at what it looks like when you guys aren't doing what's expected. So 2-2, everything considered, man, there's nothing to complain about right now. That's
Agreed. And it didn't feel
The
like
only
it did
thing
for
to
Pat.
complain
It didn't feel
about
like
is that
Sunday.
they're
It
now
didn't feel like
1-2
they quit
in
on
the-
Sunday.
They're 1-2 in the division now. They're 1-2 in the division.
Okay, Nick,
the thing.
we know they're 1-2 in the division. We know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're right. They're 1-2 in the division. That's not great, and I apologize for cutting you off. But yeah,
But
I don't know.
nobody, you know what? In all fairness, the whole division right now is banged up. It's up for grabs. There's no excuse. Everybody's quarterback, except for Lamar, is suspect right now. And so you're 1-2, but the Browns are still in perfect prime position to win the division.
I'm gonna be
Burrow's
honest.
is done. Bengals are done.
Yeah, and Nick, that's a great point. They're not off to a great start against the division rival, and that's tough. If you can't win those divisional games, I don't think you can win the division. But to my point, what I was saying is Sunday, it didn't feel like they quit, right? It didn't feel like in the years past where it's like, okay, well, Brown's gonna Brown, right? Like it just felt like they got beat, and it sort of felt okay. It was like, all right, well, they got beat, fine, no big deal. They didn't have like a 35-9 lead with 3 minutes to go and lose it. I mean, it was a game. They lost.
Look at the defense. Look at the numbers. There's no problem there. I mean, there's still a great defense.
No, and they're getting great pressure. They're stopping the run. They're doing all the things right. They're doing the right things to win 10 or 11 games, and I think that's where they end up at the end of the season.
I'll say one thing.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson was medically cleared to play.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to play because he wanted to be healthy for the bye week because a good game's coming up. Stefanski had a game plan for Deshaun Watson to play in this football game.
Yeah.
Then 3 hours before the game, he says, I'm not playing today because I don't want to hurt myself even more.
That's fair.
What's Stefanski going to do? Go into the locker room and say, okay, boys, change of plans. Screw the game plan we worked on all week. We're going to do this for him.
That's fair.
You can't do that 3 hours before a football game.
But Max, you're supposed to have a game plan in place for your QB2 in case QB1 comes down with the flu, gets arrested.
You're right.
Deshaun barely practiced all week. They knew that this was a possibility.
Yeah,
they knew
he
this was a
barely
possibility.
Yeah, it's a little hard for me to believe they didn't have something tailored to DTR, right? I mean, I'm sure they had something ready.
They had to have something ready, but I don't think they used it properly.
Well, and don't listen. The takeaway is from here. I think it's DTR's first time really working with the ones, right? It takes time. Yeah, man, and time is something that we no longer have because we've had so much fun talking about
baseball and football here and a little bit of basketball and golf, but time's gotten away from us. It's time to get out of here already, guys. I can't believe it. It's been another episode of Come On Ref. It's been a blast. I think it was a good episode. But for Jared, for Max, for Jameson, for Jackson, for Nick, for our producer Brian, and whoever else is out there that's helped us in the past, I'm Chad. I'm your host. This has been another episode of Come On Ref. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, comment, tell us what we're doing right and wrong. Just let us know and keep watching the show. We appreciate it. See you guys next week.